Welcome back to 5 Minute Fridays. This week's episode actually features a bourbon under 100 proof. So go make sure you're checking out our podcast from this week as we talk about bourbons under 100 proof and why you should be paying attention to them. So, what bourbon am I talking about in particular this week? Could be talking about a lot of them, but this one is something special. Wyoming Whiskey's National Parks Acadia Edition. I first and foremost want to give a shout out to Bob Cutler. Bob is a good friend, probably a dear friend is the best way to put that. He owns Novio's Bistro. He was one of our first listeners outside of the state of Kentucky, and has become a great friend and a good person to just bounce off life with, as our sons are similar age. And Bob was instrumental in helping Wyoming Whiskey do a national parks outside of the state of Wyoming. So shout out to Bob, shout out to the team Wyoming Whiskey. And when it comes to Wyoming Whiskey, you may not know the full story. There's many podcasts. Check out Bourbon Lens with David DeFazio and hear our version of the conversation with David as he talks about how Wyoming Whiskey started and why this is the wheated bourbon that you should be paying attention to outside of Kentucky. So we all know Weller, we all know Pappy, we all know Old Fitzgerald and Larceny and Maker's Mark. But Wyoming Whiskey started with Steve Nally, and Steve Nally knows wheated bourbon pretty well. And so he helped create this program in partnership with David and the rest of the team at Wyoming Whiskey. And then they brought in, Nancy Fraley, that little lady, and she helped craft the portfolio, and they've since hired some other folks to lead that. So let's talk a little bit about this 5-year-old, $79.99 Wyoming Whiskey National Parks Acadia Edition in Maine. So we're going to use the community scoring guide for this. So on the nose, where we're at. On the nose, it's traditional Wyoming whiskey. Deep, rich caramel, and a little bit of other notes. But the caramel so bold that it scores a 20 out of 27.5. The palate, as I have enjoyed this over time, it's bold in what it is, and then it just isn't much after that, right? It's 19 out of 27.5. Good, not great. The finish is short, 13 out of 20. The value on this, 12 is where I gave this. I think $79.99 for a craft wheated bourbon, I think is a fair price, but I know that we're all dealing with financial struggles and the finances of the world. So the value is 12 out of 15. The availability is 2. Giving this an overall score of 66, but we're at 4 scores. So the standard deviation has happened already, giving this a normalized score of 78. Now, that's going to change. That's going to adapt as we continue to rate more bourbons and whiskeys and spirits overall. Again, if you want to be a part of the community scoring team, comment community scoring down below. We'd love to have you be a part of it. Rate the whiskey objectively. Let us know. Share your thoughts. Again, we'd love to have you be a part of this. So if you're looking for something new and you want to try out something Maine-only release, go up to Maine. Hunt a sip of the National Parks from Wyoming Whiskey Acadia Edition. And again, shout out to Bob Cutler. And until next time, cheers.